Hello and a very good morning to you. You're on to Frontline TV, and today we're going to sample some of the headlines coming from some of the Nigerian tabloids. So why not just come along with us as we tell you what the tabloids have for us or have in store for us this beautiful morning. And without wasting much time, we're going to start with the Vanguard newspaper. The leading story coming from the Vanguard newspaper this morning says Rivers hopes mixed views as emergency ends tomorrow. Hopes mixed views as emergency ends tomorrow. And the picture shows that the president of Nigeria, talking about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is back in Abuja. And the picture shows him shaking hands with some of the officials or top government officials as he landed at the airport in Abuja. Now, if you take a look at the upmost part of the Vanguard newspaper, you'll see that private depots deserted as Dangote refinery begins direct fuel supplies. And also experts disagree as presidency says inflation will drop to single digits. Still from the Vanguard newspaper, bandit commander Ado Alero kills traditional ruler in Safe, that is in Zamfara state. And also NIN SIM linkage reduces fraud and boosts national security. This one is attributed to the president's comments. Federal government drags Sowore Facebook X to court over criminal post against the president of Nigeria, talking about President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. And still from the Vanguard newspaper, this one is talking about food security, that is the down part of the Vanguard newspaper. Food security, federal government unveils new agric investment incentives. And last but not the least, Nigerian profs earn gardeners 3-hour pay. This one is coming from an ex-OAU vice chancellor, Abimbola. Now that's the much that we're going to take from the Vanguard newspaper. Moving on to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper has as its leading story, insider threats, low confidence hobble, $14 billion aviation target. This is coming from the Vanguard newspaper, the leading story. And the topmost part of the Vanguard, I beg your pardon, the Guardian newspaper. It's the Guardian newspaper actually. The insider threats, low confidence hobble, $14 billion aviation target. And still from the Guardian newspaper, PDP throws 2027 presidential ticket open to all regions. PDP throws 2027 presidential ticket open to all regions. And still from the Guardian newspaper, Atiku meets US envoy in Abuja, flays tribalism in Nigeria. All these leading stories are coming from the topmost part of the Guardian newspaper. And still from the Guardian, food, transport, housing, others remain key inflation drivers. My. Still, one of the leading stories from the right-hand side of the Guardian says Obi decries normalization of violence as Kwara youths make distress call. Obi decries normalization of violence as Kwara youths make distress call. And still, if you look at the left down part of the Guardian newspaper, Tinubu returns as Fubara set for reinstatement. Labour Party seeks emergency rule probe, that is the LP party. And still on the Guardian newspaper, federal government is insensitive to doctors' welfare. NMA reiterates, that's the Nigerian Medical Association, they are reiterating that the federal government is insensitive to doctors' welfare. Still from the Guardian newspaper, Sowore files countersuit as DSS sues him, ex Meta, over anti-Tinubu post. International Day, the down part of the Guardian newspaper. Lagos warns against using ozone depleting gases for refrigerators and others. And also, the last but not the least from the Guardian newspaper, crude output improves as Nigeria records first full pipeline availability in 20 years. The Nigerian Daily Headline is coming to you from Frontline TV. Now we're going to take a look at the Daily Times. Leading story from the Daily Times newspaper says, DSS slams criminal charges on Sonwore ex Meta over anti-Tinubu post. That's the leading story. And the picture also shows the president of Nigeria uh, coming down the steps of the airplane, which shows that he's back in the country, and also him shaking hands with top government officials. That is the front picture of the Daily Times newspaper, coming to you from Frontline TV. And still from the Frontline TV, that is the Daily Times newspaper headlines: billions invested, but Africa's 5G dream still out of reach. Oh my. Then we have another leading story: 8, not 40 persons abducted in Zamfara mosques, says the police. And also, court upholds ICPC's investigative powers in Kanu Scholarship Funds case. Now, still from the Daily Times newspaper, over 5 million uncollected PVCs worrisome ahead of 2027. CSO, they're the ones saying that. And the down part of the Daily Times newspaper says Tinubu's suspension of 4% FOB levy saves airlines from fresh burden. Now, at the top of the Daily Times newspaper, it says $100 billion annual investments needed to revive Nigeria's middle income class. This one is coming from one of the ministers of the nation. And last but not the least, insecurity threatens Benue's role as Nigeria's food basket. And that report, there's a picture of the governor of Benue State. That is, the governor's picture is also there for you to quickly get the full story. Is when you obtain a copy of the Daily Times newspaper. Now we're moving on to the Blueprint. The Blueprint newspaper, the leading story: Happy birthday, Wale Lafia. That is the leading story, and that is the picture of the Wale Lafia as he's celebrating his birthday. That's making headlines from the Blueprint newspaper. And then still from the Blueprints, another leading story: 114 million of 230 million Nigerians not yet under NIN database capacity hits 250 million. Harmonized identity system will strengthen governance, says President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Our CNG drivers earn thrice minimum wage. This one is coming from the Dangote refinery. Well, those are the few leading stories from the Blueprint newspaper. Coming up next is the Punch. Punch newspaper, the leading story says federal government unveils agri reforms, moves to create 21 million jobs. 21 million jobs. That's going to be another breakthrough if it comes to reality, which we are so hopeful about. Federal government unveils agri reforms, moves to create 21 million jobs. Fresh incentives will boost food production, free Nigerians from seasonal dependency, says the Vice President, Kashim Shettima. And also, does the down part of that leading story: AFAN, others endorse measures, seek timely intervention. Women farmers task federal government on loans and others. Now, the top part of the Punch newspaper says Tinubu returns to Abuja after cutting short Paris leave, and Nama pushes for tariff hike, airlines kick. From the Punch newspaper, still, Army arrests notorious IPOP commander in Imo, and there's this other part that says oil reforms drive $18.2 billion deal, says the federal government. Now, if you look at the down part of the Punch newspaper, it says, don't derail Awujale selection. Council wants ruling houses, and how Nigeria can attain global power, says the governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu. And last but not the least, federal government predicts fresh flooding in Lagos and 13 other states. Wow. If you want the full details of some of these leading stories, just go to any of the newspaper stands and obtain a copy of the Punch newspaper. Now, First Daily newspaper. First Daily newspaper, the leading story, you can see it boldly written: Jonathan 2027 candidacy could shake APC, says Udenta. Jonathan 2027 candidacy could shake APC. And Sowore battles DSS Meta X over Tinubu's criminal post. Still coming from the First Daily newspaper. And there's a picture, or should I say that there's a picture in front of the First Daily showing the president of Nigeria, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, shaking hands with the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, as he arrived in Nigeria, cutting short his Paris trip. And there's still another leading story. Peace, stability, return to rivers under my watch, says Ibas. Anambra to spend 3.5 billion naira empowering 8,300 youths. This one is coming from a commissioner of Anambra State saying that they are to spend 3.5 billion naira empowering 8,300 youths. INEC decries poor turnout for voter registration in Enugu. Visa fees non-refundable. U.S. Embassy clarifies. Last but not the least, from the first daily newspaper, Rivers APC woos Fubara ahead of handover. Rivers APC woos Fubara ahead of handover. And still, okay, let me just say this is